The savanna seems to hold its breath as the lion launches forward, but victory does not follow. The prey rises in defense with sharp horns, powerful kicks, and a fierce instinct to survive. In only a moment, the counterattack shifts the balance and forces the lion out of control. Rivals begin to close in, turning one small mistake into overwhelming pressure. When the advantage disappears, will the lion retreat or risk everything once again? Across the dry land, the oryx appears quietly, yet with unmistakable power. This desert antelope has a solid build, lasting endurance, and an incredible ability to survive without water. A full-grown individual can weigh more than 400 pounds. But what makes predators hesitate most is its pair of horns, nearly 4 feet long, straight, sharp, and always facing forward. In a land where water is scarce, every hunting opportunity becomes valuable for a lion. As an oryx lowers its head to graze, the lion begins to close the distance. It lowers its body, uses the wind and shade, then moves step by step across the dry ground. But that silence does not escape the prey's attention. The oryx lifts its head, stands still, then stamps the ground as a warning signal. The lion keeps moving closer, waiting for a moment when the rear side seems exposed. Just as the charge appears perfectly timed, the oryx turns, lowers its head, and points its horns straight ahead. The lion's momentum is stopped before the move can be completed. The lion is forced to step back. In the desert, calmness is also a form of strength. Sometimes, simply standing firm is enough to change the outcome of an entire hunt. The impala is not the largest prey animal, but it is one of the most frustrating challenges for many big cats. Its light body, long legs, and quick reflexes help it burst forward at nearly 50 miles per hour and leap more than 9 feet in a single escape move. For a lion, a predator that needs a large amount of food to maintain its strength, the impala is an attractive but unpredictable target. Beside a shallow waterhole, the lion stays hidden behind low grass. It waits for the wind to shift, waits for the impala herd to lower their heads to drink, then suddenly launches from close range. Dust rises behind each heavy step. The pounce seems carefully timed. But the impala notices the movement in time. It turns its body sharply in a split second, throwing the lion's charge off rhythm. One quick change of direction is enough to open the distance again. The prey disappears back into the herd, while the predator is left standing in the grassland. Many lion hunts have a success rate below 30%, because speed does not always overcome a perfectly timed reflex. With a full-grown impala, that risk becomes even greater. On the savanna, sometimes one small turn is enough to rewrite the outcome of an entire hunt. Across the open grasslands of Africa, African wild dogs are considered some of the savanna's most enduring hunters. They are not as large as lions, with each individual weighing around 80 pounds. But they stand out through stamina, agility, and coordination that rarely stops. During a chase, they can reach nearly 44 miles per hour, then maintain pressure as a pack rather than relying on a single strike. Between wild dogs and lions, the conflict is not only about hunting, but also about territory and food competition that has lasted for generations. With far greater strength, male lions often dominate wide areas, take over feeding grounds, and frequently force wild dogs to abandon the rewards of an exhausting hunt. Each loss drains valuable energy from the pack, especially when young pups still depend on the adults for survival. But wild dogs do not completely surrender to that pressure. When they notice a lone lioness searching for food, the pack quickly changes formation. Short calls echo across the grasslands as individuals gather from different directions, surrounding the lioness and creating constant pressure. Their goal is not a direct fight, but to drive her away, issue a warning, and defend the pack's living space. Under that relentless pressure, the lioness will sometimes retreat rather than risk losing her advantage. For wild dogs, this is not a grand victory. It is simply the way the pack protects its chance to survive in a world that favors those who know how to work together. Across the open savanna, the zebra stands as a striped warrior, familiar prey, yet far from easy to overpower. A full-grown zebra can weigh nearly 1,000 pounds, supported by powerful legs and rapid herd instincts. When chased, it can sprint at around 40 miles per hour. But when escape routes begin to close, running is no longer the only option. For lions, zebras are a rich source of energy, but also a dangerous target. Out on the open grasslands, the predator must get close enough and choose the right individual separated from the herd. If the zebra gains full speed, the advantage can disappear within seconds. Near the edge of the herd, a lioness moves quietly through low grass, focusing on the slowest animal. The distance narrows little by little. The moment the zebras notice movement, the entire formation breaks apart. Dust rises into the air as pounding hooves send vibrations across the plain. But then a mother zebra suddenly turns back. She twists sharply and delivers a powerful kick with her hind legs. At the moment of contact, the force can reach nearly 3,000 pounds per square inch, stopping the lion's advance in the middle of the dust cloud. For a brief moment, the hunter becomes the one forced backward, not by another predator, but by the fierce resistance of the prey itself. Hyenas do not carry the same regal appearance as lions. Weighing around 150 pounds, they rely on endurance, powerful jaws, and the ability to process tough leftover food sources that many other predators leave behind. In the wild, spotted hyenas live in matriarchal societies where females hold dominance. A large clan can include nearly 80 members, operating through vocal calls, social rank, and remarkable coordination. For lions, hyenas are long-standing rivals. When they notice a young male lion separated from the pride in search of food, hyenas often begin surrounding him from a distance. They do not rush in immediately. Instead, they circle, move closer, then pull back again, maintaining constant pressure to wear down the strength and confidence of a future king. Outnumbered and surrounded, the lion can do little more than defend himself briefly while searching for an opening to escape. At lion feeding sites, the moment hyenas detect signs of prey, they quickly gather and call in more clan members, turning the scene into a tense contest. It often takes around 4 hyenas to create serious pressure against a lioness. But when a full-grown male lion arrives, the balance can shift instantly. On the savanna, a lion's status is never truly at rest. The greater the power, the more relentless the pressure surrounding it becomes. Across the African grasslands, buffalo move like living fortresses. Their massive bodies can weigh around 1,500 pounds. With horns spreading nearly 3 feet wide and a forehead built like a shield, every full-grown individual becomes a formidable opponent. For lions, buffalo represent a major reward, but also one of the most dangerous hunts on the savanna. A separated individual may create an opportunity, while an alert herd makes every approach unpredictable. Lions usually spend time observing, searching for the young, the aging, or those that fall behind. Only when the distance closes to a few dozen feet can a sudden charge create an advantage. The grass shifts lightly. The hunting formation spreads from several directions. But buffalo do not scatter like smaller prey animals. At the sound of a warning signal, the herd quickly turns together, forming a wall against the threat. From the front, the adults step forward, tightening the space and forcing the lions to change direction. At times, the predators must retreat, even climbing onto low branches while waiting for the herd to move away. The hunt no longer becomes a simple pursuit, but a test of limits. Even so, lions never abandon instinct. Buffalo remain an important food source for the pride, but reaching that reward demands patience, coordination, and caution. On the grasslands, strength is not measured only by the charge, but also by knowing when to stop. A white shadow moves through the frozen wind, pulling the entire sea of ice into tension. The polar bear closes in with the raw power of the Arctic's ultimate ruler. Its target faces not only speed, but the relentless pressure of the environment itself. Even other predators grow cautious as the rhythm of the frozen territory begins to shift. When the ruler of the Arctic enters the scene, few dare to remain in its path. If the polar bear represents power on the ice, the walrus represents sheer mass along the edge of the Arctic Ocean. An adult male polar bear can weigh more than 1,000 pounds, surviving through patience and hunting skill. But in front of it stands a very different challenge: a massive body, thick skin, and tusks that can grow nearly 3 feet long. Large walruses can even weigh twice as much as a polar bear. Encounters between them are not constant battles, but moments shaped by hunger and timing. After days without finding food, a polar bear moves slowly along the frozen shoreline. Ahead lies a crowded walrus colony, packed together like living fortresses between the sand, broken ice, and the edge of the sea. When danger is sensed, the group quickly pushes towards the water. Once in the ocean, the advantage belongs almost entirely to the walruses, so the bear's opportunity exists only within the brief confusion between shore and waves. Young, weaker, or slower individuals are sometimes separated from the safety of the group. The bear must choose the right target and close the distance with speed and precision. Even then, success is never guaranteed. Against a large walrus colony, every advance carries risk. In the Arctic, survival does not always belong to the strongest, but to the one capable of judging the exact moment when danger becomes opportunity. Encounters between gray wolves and polar bears rarely begin with confrontation. They begin with observation. The pack moves low across the open ground, reading tracks, wind direction, and the scent of leftover food carried from a distance. An adult gray wolf typically weighs around 120 pounds, far smaller than a polar bear. Because of that, the wiser choice is not to challenge the larger predator, but to keep a careful distance. While the bear remains nearby, the wolves often circle along the outer edge of safety, waiting for conditions to change. Only after the bear has eaten or moved away do they approach. The remaining scraps become a valuable source of energy for the pack during the harsh season. As winter tightens its grip on the Arctic, the distance between nourishment and exhaustion can sometimes come down to a single food source on the ice. Polar bears are naturally solitary, traveling across vast frozen seas in search of seals. But when prey becomes scarce, the ice edge, a scarce food source, or the breeding season can draw multiple individuals into the same space. An encounter between two bears rarely begins in chaos. At first, they move slowly, observe each other, send warning signals, and test one another's response. When an adult male rises onto his hind legs, he can stand nearly 10 feet tall. As tension builds, shoulder pushes, paw swings, and body weight become ways of establishing position. But in this frozen world, direct confrontation is always costly. Many encounters end with grappling, testing strength, and one bear eventually stepping back. The one that retreats may lose access to food or a breeding opportunity, but it preserves the energy needed to continue its journey. For a mother bear, the equation is even harsher. When a male approaches, the goal is not to win, but to create enough distance for her cubs to move away from danger. Even a few seconds of delay can change the outcome. In this frozen world, strength is not used only for hunting. It is also a tool for negotiation, protecting opportunity, and avoiding the waste of precious energy. Belugas are often called the white ghosts of the northern seas. A full-grown individual can reach around 16 feet in length and weigh more than 2,000 pounds. They are protected by a thick layer of blubber and a highly refined sense of navigation beneath the ice. Yet despite belonging to the ocean, belugas are still mammals. The need to breathe forces them back to the rare openings in the frozen surface, where the instinct to survive can sometimes become a vulnerability. When the sea freezes over, the water is sealed beneath layers of ice several feet thick. The polar bear does not rely on long pursuits. Instead, it stands silently within the endless white landscape. For hours, it remains almost motionless, waiting for a beluga to surface for air. That moment lasts only a few seconds, but it can shift the entire balance of the encounter. By summer, the conditions change once again. Open water expands, giving belugas far more room to move away from danger. The bear loses the advantage of narrow breathing holes and is forced to move carefully along rocky shorelines, waiting for belugas to enter shallow water with the rhythm of the tide. Rushed approaches rarely succeed. The opportunity belongs only to the one patient enough to read the movement of the sea, the distance, and the timing. Because of that, the hunt for belugas is not simply a contest between strength and agility. Here, the seasons and even a single breath can shape survival itself. In the Arctic, endurance and intelligence often decide who prevails. Small breathing holes in the ice form a fragile boundary between the sealed ocean below and the open air above. They are created as seals maintain openings in the frozen surface for breathing, resting, or caring for their young inside sheltered snow chambers. For ringed seals, bearded seals, and several species that survive around the Arctic, These breathing points become vital pathways through the long white winter. But for the polar bear, they are also places of opportunity. With an exceptionally powerful sense of smell, it can detect the scent of prey or snow dens from more than a mile away. Rather than wasting energy in endless movement, the bear waits silently beside the breathing hole, patient enough to seem like part of the ice itself. When a seal surfaces, the moment lasts only a few seconds. The bear must react with speed and precision before the water becomes still once again. Even so, success rates are often below 20%, turning every hour of waiting into a difficult survival calculation. At other times, when seals rest on drifting ice, the hunt becomes a test of distance and timing. The bear lowers its body and circles downwind to avoid revealing its scent. Once in the water, its broad paws work like powerful paddles, driving its body through the freezing current. If the seal notices the approach too early, the opportunity disappears immediately. But when the distance is close enough, one brief and carefully timed advance can provide the high-energy meal needed to sustain the bear for days. The polar bear is the silent ruler of the frozen Arctic. With a thick layer of fat, translucent fur, and broad paws, it is built to survive some of the harshest cold on Earth. It hunts through patience, an extraordinary sense of smell, and the ability to wait for the perfect moment. Every attack is shaped by a combination of strength, instinct, and survival experience. Yet behind that powerful presence lies a growing struggle as the icy world around it continues to change. Across the vast tundra beneath a cold gray sky, caribou are symbols of northern endurance. They move with the seasons across hundreds or even thousands of miles, crossing grasslands, wetlands, and freezing rivers. An adult can weigh more than 300 pounds and sprint at around 50 miles per hour when escaping danger. In this open world, speed and herd unity are their most important shield. For the polar bear, caribou are not a primary food source. Its large, heavy body is not built for long chases on land. Instead of rushing after them and wasting energy, it must read the terrain, the wind direction, and the movement of the herd. Opportunity appears only when a young, weaker, or slower individual becomes separated, or when soft mud and the water's edge reduce the advantage of speed. When the distance is close enough, the bear can accelerate in a short burst, reaching about 25 miles per hour. The encounter then unfolds quickly. Heavy footsteps, dust rising, the caribou herd splitting apart, and every decision measured in seconds. If the target maintains enough open space, the opportunity disappears almost immediately. One successful attempt can provide valuable energy before the harsh ice season. But on the tundra, the lesson is not about absolute strength. It lies in waiting for the right moment, changing strategy, and adapting to each cold season. Not every hunt ends with the stride of a victor. Lions are powerful, but the savanna tests every mistake. Each counterattack from prey becomes a reminder that even power has limits. If more moments from the wild spark your curiosity, be sure to like and subscribe. As the wind moves through the tall grass, that lesson still lingers across the ground.